So my name is Father Richard McNeely. I'm the director of the Vocations office. I also direct the Office of Seminarian Support. So the Office of Vocations, its goal, and I just want to say this is like a vision statement, is that everybody in the Archdiocese would find and live their vocation. That's a huge goal. And so our kind of mission is really to create a structure, like support, so that people and parishes or all our faithful can find the tools that they need, and have, that we can have seminarians for the needs of the local church, that we could have kind of like discerners who are informed and find their vocation. And then we even want to kind of rally the troops to get volunteers and other people invested in our ministry. And we're just hoping to create a culture of vocations, archdiocesan wide. So our office is partially funded by DSF, and I wouldn't have like 3 of my staff members. I wouldn't have an admin. We wouldn't do as much as we do for women's vocations. Like, we have a person, she's a consecrated woman who works in the office full-time, trying to help young women discern. And we wouldn't have somebody who does like events. We probably wouldn't have as many programs if we didn't have like a program manager and somebody to take care of all the ins and outs of marketing and trying to get us out there where young people are.
So I'm Matthew Lester. I've been a parishioner with the St. Anthony of the Padua in the Woodlands for about 2 years now. I was married with my wife at Holy Rosary Church, October 1st, 2022. We met at the Catholic Newman Center at the University of Houston, which is where I first made contact with the Office of Vocations. It was a busy student retreat, I think my sophomore year in the fall semester, and I came to know Father Richard. The best thing I got from that retreat was the forgiveness prayer. And that was something I really needed at that point in my life. And it set the stage for just being open to any vocation that came my way. The biggest program for me from the Office of Vocations was Samuel Group. It was about, I want to say 2021 to 2022. It was an 8-month program, but now it's called Verbum Tuum. And what I loved about it, and what it did so much for me, was it taught me detachment, in particular with vocations. It taught me that vocations are about how we're called to love. It wasn't about become a priest. It wasn't about become a married person or a consecrated laity. It was focused on how can you be free in your decision for figuring out what God wants for you. And they would invite people from different ways of life, different vocations, as kind of an exposure to that process. But it was focused on detachment and spiritual discernment and the Ignatian principles as well. The Office of Vocations isn't just about priests. We need priests. If you love God, you should consider being a priest or a sister or a consecrated laity. But the Office of Vocations is also about marriage. And it's about discerning where God wants you to go with your life, what charisms you have, and how to even figure out what that is by opening up your heart and healing all of the wounds that you may have from your salvation history.
My name is Ian DeCoster. I'm a first-year seminarian at St. Mary's Seminary. In my first year of discipleship, I started to discern my vocation really when I was 17, so maybe 6 years ago, but more actively in the last year and a half. And once that discernment process began, I started to reach out to my pastor, the priest at my home parish, St. Anthony's. I was in college, so I had been living out of the town for several years at that point. But as soon as I got in contact, they then referred me to Father Richard McNeely to start meeting on an individual basis, and then he invited me to visit the seminary and participate in some of the Office of Vocations events like the Andrews Dinners and the discernment retreats that are offered. So it all started, I'd say, fall 2023. I think that the best piece of advice for someone wanting to get involved with the many opportunities available through the Office of Vocations is just ask the Lord what's the next little yes that he or she is being invited to say, whether it's a meeting, a phone call, an email to be sent, a retreat, maybe just a discernment event, because leaps and bounds don't happen overnight. It's a little step at a time, and the Office of Vocations has events particularly tailored to every person, that's regardless of where they are in their process of discernment. So I think that the best piece of advice is just ask the Lord, what's the little yes He's inviting you to make, and seeing where that is.